Hey guys, King Salamander here, back with another video. Today, I'll be defending Jon Jones. I'll be Jon Jones' personal lawyer. Now, before you come at me, okay, before you hate on me, understand the title of this video, okay? Devil's Advocate. Because even the most infamous and vicious criminals, they get lawyers. So yeah, Jon Jones is entitled to one. I'll be doing it today. So, okay, one thing I ask of you is to be objective through all of this. So I'm gonna be talking 4 points that make people hate Jones, and I'll be debunking them one by one. Okay, the first one, the most obvious one. Okay, Jon Jones did not lose the first Gustafsson fight. He did not lose the Thiago Santos fight, and he did not lose Dominic Reyes fight. Okay. Now, before you judge me for what I said, I rewatched every single one of those fights many times and rewatched them again before this video. Okay, if you should do the same. I advise you to do the same before mindlessly repeating what you hear others say, or be clouded by your hate, by your bias against Jon Jones. Okay, remember to judge those fights with the same criteria you judge other fights in which you scream robbery. You'll see that Jon Jones did not lose those fights. Okay, because people are letting their hate for Jones cloud their judgment. Not the fact that he was dominant, so dominant that those competitive fights, just because the fight were competitive, then he automatically lost, as if he can't ever have competitive fights. So, okay, the Reyes fight was the closest one, definitely. But if we had a similar fight, we cover the names of the fighters. We change them. Two fighters, other fighters, had exactly the same fight, and the fighter A won. No one would be calling a robbery, by today's standards. Honestly, I don't see it as a robbery. It could have gone to either man. It went to Jones. That's how I see that fight. But the Gustafsson fight and the Thiago Santos fight, I think it's clear that Jones won those. If you just mute the commentary and just watch it. So yeah. And by the way, there is an explanation for that race performance. Honestly, it is common that champions who defended their titles many times, they start performing a little bit worse by the end of the title run. It's very common. Even those dominant champions, they do lose the hunger. Okay, it's a valid argument, I think, because first of all, they lose a little bit of hunger. Not all, maybe, but I think it's very possible. You've accomplished it. You've defended your titles many times. Uh, it can fit that you can lose your hunger a little bit. Don't train as hard, especially we know that Jones, well, as he says, sometimes he just parties and takes coke before fights, before training. So, and the other thing is they get figured out a little bit better after every fight. So I think it's very excusable that Rey's performance. It is common to very different champions. Like an example, I'll give an example. The Hendrix performance by George St. Pierre. It's a prime example of that. I mean, GSP is undeniably a better fighter than Hendrix, but he had that very close performance that very people think he lost. And it was at the very end of his title reign and his title defenses. So, just like with GSP and Hendrix, you clearly see that Jones is levels ahead of Reyes. Reyes is getting exposed more and more after each fight. So, come on. I mean, I don't know if that counts for anything, but it doesn't. Like two fighters, one who's way better than the other, they can have close fights. It happens all the time, just like GSP and Hendrix, I feel. So yeah, that was the first point. The second point I want to talk about. People are saying that Jones is ducking Aspinall and he's choosing an easy fight in Alex Pereira. Again, let's look at this objectively. There is something that a lot of people are missing. The criteria to be a GOAT, according to many fans, it almost anonymous. You have to be to beat the best in the generation before you, in your generation, and generation after you. So yeah, Jones defeated many former champions in the generation before him, Machida and Shogun, just to name two of them. In his generation, he beat the best. He beat Gus, he beat DC twice. The point about the future generation, okay, if we don't take into consideration the Reyes and Santos wins, just because they were too close to some people's tastes. But I mean, close decisions happened all the time, by the way. But yeah, let's not count those. There is something that a lot of people are missing here. The gun victory, it got downplayed by everyone. It's like it never happened. It's like it doesn't mean anything. Cyril Gane was undeniably the best heavyweight fighter in the UFC after Ngannou left. And he had such a close fight with Ngannou, who had to wrestle to win it, to edge it. So yeah, no one was saying that Gane had no chance versus Jones. Quite the opposite before the fight. Many people had Gane winning it. And it was completely logical. He could have won it very much if we don't know the result now. No one was saying that Gane had shit ground game. Yeah, Ngannou took him down, and that was alarming, but let's remember something. Ngannou literally out-wrestled Stipe in their second fight. He out-wrestled him, he out-scrambled him. I'm pretty sure he took him down at one point, or reversed to takedown or something. And that's Stipe Miocic. He's one of the best wrestlers we've seen in the heavyweight division. So clearly he had improved tremendously in that aspect. So the fact that Ngannou took Gane down, it's not that disgraceful as people are painting it to be. And once Jones just went in there and one-shot Gane, suddenly Gane is this trash fighter and Jones' win doesn't mean anything anymore, even though he literally was the number one guy at the time. He was the future of the heavyweight division, and Tom Aspinall wasn't up there yet. So let's look at this. Which win will look better on Jones' resume now? Which is undeniably the reason he's fighting still at this point. It's for his legacy, okay? So, either Alex Pereira, a legend, a mystical fighter, and a fighter that is very hot right now, and even for the casual fans, he's a known name, he's a very big name in the media. And sorry, but he's way bigger name than Tom Aspinall. That's just a fact. And yes, it is an undeniably easier fight for Bones. So, either that, or he can fight Tom, another future generation guy. No real name value yet, only within the hardcore fans. Only the hardcore fans know how good he is. Let's be honest here. And Jones already beat the guy in heavyweight, the future guy in Cyril Gane. Because he was that when he fought him. He was the number one, he was the future of the heavyweight. He just fought for a title and barely lost to Ngannou. So I guarantee if Jones would beat Aspinall, people will water down that win too. They'd say Aspinall is too young, he hasn't proven himself yet. And at what point will Jones have to keep the fighting the next guy again and again? He won't be here forever. He's 36 and he's been fighting since 19 years old, by the way. Been champion since 2011 and he's undefeated. So I think the fact that he's chosen Pereira, of course, the number one reason is that Pereira is easier. But it looks way better in his resume. He already defeated that young, hungry, up-and-coming heavyweight. Now he can defeat another huge legend in the whole fighting sport. It's a very easy choice. I don't see why people are giving him shit for that. Okay, the fact that Aspinall is the interim champion, I get it, but Jones don't have say in that. He wouldn't have preferred to have an interim title if it was up to him, clearly. So yeah, the third point that I will be talking about. Okay. Now this one, I can't defend him very much. The failed drug tests. Not much to defend here, but I have this to say though. He is far from being the only one to have positive tests. Many fighters, especially before USADA, were juiced, and people don't seem so adamant to just scratch off their legacy. And I'll give you an example, okay, before you come at me. I don't see many people doing the same to Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva tested positive at least 3 times for anabolic steroids, yet everyone still considers him the best middleweight in the history of the MMA. No one is saying, no, he can't have that, he's a cheat, okay? I didn't see anybody trying to strip him of his accolades or trying to say that all his wins don't count anymore. Why? Because they love Anderson Silva, but they hate Jon Jones. It's simple. That's the reason of all this media, not media, but fans attacks on Jones. Now the fourth point, okay, this one explains everything else in the video. His off-the-ring behavior. This is also pretty condemning evidence, okay? It's the real reason why everyone hates Jones and always have something to say about him. But why? Why should we care about that? Okay, he's a fighter. We're watching him fight every time. We don't have to love every fighter. We don't have the personality of every fighter. Let the law punish him if he's proven guilty. That's it. Okay, that shouldn't come in the conversation of whether he's the best or not. Doesn't count at all. The fact that he's a bad person and the fact that he's simply the best to ever do it, they don't intertwine, And by the way, I have another counterexample for this. I'm pretty sure we all saw the video of Mike Perry knocking out some ordinary dude, some pedestrian, in front of a bar. Yet people love Perry. No one talks bad about Mike Perry right now, just because of the fact that they love him and they hate Jones. Jones doesn't get a pass for those weird actions. Perry does. That's the hypocrisy of the MMA world, I feel. I'm not defending the fact that he did those horrible things. Of course he did them. But so what? Many fighters did bad things. We're here to watch the fighters. Don't have to love everyone. They're not all decent human beings. Quite the opposite. A lot of them are just pieces of shit. That shouldn't shouldn't have any way in the conversation about his skills and what he deserves or not in the octagon. So yeah, that's been my video, guys. It's probably a new series. I'll see how people react to this. Playing devil's advocate for people that are hated, for fighters that are hated in the UFC. I was talking facts, I think. Love him or hate him, we should put respect on his name. He's one of the best. He's the best to ever do it. So yeah, if you like the video, please like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.